Everybody smile and wave. All right, here we go. Smile and wave. We have the minimum number of people.
Don't knock your camera over.
All right. Well, thank you for coming to my presentation today. I like to ride my bike, and sometimes I'll ride for hours and hours and will be really boring, just on a long flat road. And so I make up games in my head, and one of the games that I have made up I like to call Road Trash Bingo. And so in my mind I figure out a grid and I start filling it with things that I might see as I'm biking along that could be on the side of the road. So we're going to kind of play that today. And if I were to fill in a grid, give me some suggestions of trash that you might find on the road that you might see as you're biking.
Soda bottles.
Soda bottles, yes.
Beer cans.
Beer cans, yes.
Paper.
Paper.
Trash bag.
Trash bags, yep. And grocery bags.
Couch.
A couch, The
Diapers.
mattresses. Diapers.
All kind of stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
Clothing articles. Articles of clothing.
Clothing, yes. All right. Well, I am going to fill out that grid right now. And so, first of all, coffee cups. I see a lot of
Yeah,
coffee
yeah.
cups. I also see a lot of soda bottles, like you mentioned. I see money. No, I don't see money. I always watch for money, though. That's what I'm really looking for.
I have them.
Lucky. And then shoes. I saw a shoe this morning as I was biking. Cigarette cartons, containers, wrappers, whatever they're called. I never count cigarette butts, although there are plenty out there because they're too small as I'm biking along. I see a lot of sunglasses, a lot of reading glasses, broken glasses, candy wrappers, and I see gloves. I saw a glove this morning as I was biking. I see these little liquor bottles. I counted 12 of them in the first mile of my run yesterday. They're just, I don't know what it is about that. There's fast food wrappers, the flavored water bottles are everywhere.
I was gonna say that.
If I'm out on
Tires.
Peyton Highway, a lot of tires, a lot of broken tires. Newspaper, like you said, those trash bags, which are the number one enemy, but I'll go over that later. There's aluminum cans, beer cans, plastic food trays, especially from restaurants. I see old media, cassette tapes that are all unraveled, and CDs, and fountain drinks, and energy drinks. There are a lot of energy drink cans all over the roads right now. And articles of clothing. I do see a lot of articles of clothing. So that's kind of the grids that I put in my head. And for full disclosure, I never see money, but I do see diapers. So Vicki gets a point for diapers. And so, although it's really fun when I win at the games that I play, it's kind of sad to see all this trash. And Vail Resorts has also acknowledged that this is not the experience of a lifetime that they have in mind, which is their motto. And so last summer they did an initiative that they call Epic Promise. And from that, they have committed to have 50% of all waste recycled by 2020, which is only about a year and a half away. And then 100% of all waste recycled by 2030. And so I got to thinking, I'm an awful nice person and I recycle. I kind of do my part, but I don't think I do 40 or 50%. And so I was wondering and thinking, what is standing in my way of recycling? And I decided that part of it is ignorance, not understanding the process or the fine details, and then part of it is apathy. So I'm going to go over some of these things with you today, just briefly. Okay, first of all, why bother to recycle? Well, it turns out that it has more to do with just saving space in the landfills. The energy that is saved by recycling just one glass bottle will power a light bulb of 100 watts for 4 hours.
Wow.
And the energy that's saved from using aluminum, from recycling aluminum, as opposed to processing it from scratch, will save 95%. So 95% of the energy will be saved by recycling aluminum as opposed to taking the element from the ground and using that resource. Also, there are industry benefits, and for every job given to somebody to go pick up recycling, there are 8 jobs generated by taking that material and turning it into something useful. Okay, so then I was wondering, what happens to the stuff that I actually toss into recycling? Well, first it makes it to the dumpster. Whether you do curbside or you go out behind your business and put it in the dumpster, that's the first step. And then the trash trucks take it and they empty it out into a great big warehouse. And then there's this big backhoe scooper that goes and tosses it onto these conveyor belts. And the conveyor belts have people that pull through it, and they pull out the things that don't get recycled, like the trash bags. Those grocery store bags are the number one enemy because they gum up the gears, and on average these belts have to be stopped 3 times per work shift to pull out bags that got in the way. So you don't want those at all, and they pull out other things that people think were a good idea to recycle that really aren't recyclable. And then on these belts, they're really state of the art, and they have different kinds of magnets that will go through and recognize like the aluminum cans and pull those out, or the tin cans and pull those out. And they will also have these these sensors underneath. I think they call it ultra red. No, there's another word. They have infrared sensors underneath the belts, and they can determine the quality of plastic. And when it's a good enough plastic, they have these puffs of air, these jets of air that push the plastic up and pop it off the belt into the bin that it needs to go to. And then after it's all sorted, it gets put into bales, and these bales get sold to different businesses. So that's what's happening with the recycling. So the next question, how do you recycle at Bicycle Village? Well, whoops, wrong button. Okay, so I just like this pointer now. So they have these, a bin at the benches for shoes and the benches for skis, and in the break room. And those bins get emptied into the trash container in the dumpster in the back, and it's picked up by Waste Management. And so I actually went and took a picture of the bin in the back and what they recycle, but I thought I would break that down a little bit. I studied all sorts of things, what can and what can't be recycled, and if you have any questions about specifics, I'd be happy to answer them after the presentation. But the things that jumped out at me were that the lids for bottles, I've heard both ways. You know, you can't recycle the lid that goes on like a water bottle, and you can. And it turns out that the liquid inside the drink bottles is very harmful to the recycling process. If you throw a bottle of liquid into recycling, then when that liquid gets crushed, it bleeds onto the paper, and it makes the papers unfit for recycling. And so many municipalities banned lids just because that forced you to pour the water out or the drink out. So what you need to do is just empty out the bottle, put the lid back on, and put it in recycling. And the other thing that I thought was very interesting is that the coffee cups and lids, they cannot be recycled because they're lined in plastic. Same with ice cream containers. They're lined in plastic and they are not usable. And then the machines don't like little tiny things like utensils and straws and shredded paper that gums up the machines. And also greasy pizza boxes. So the solution is to rip those boxes in half, put the greasy side in the trash, and the lid part into your recycling. And then with these plastic bags that are the number one enemy, just toss those into the recycling bins that are just plastic bags that you find in the front of the grocery stores. So what you're thinking, I know what you're thinking is, what about styrofoam? Because a styrofoam has that recycling arrow, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It's lies. You cannot recycle styrofoam. Nobody takes
I know
styrofoam.
it. Why would
No.
they do that?
I don't know. They're trying to mess with our heads and make us feel better about buying recycling or taking our meals home. But no, nobody takes that. All right. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. But there was a study done in England and last year to find out and about recycling, and they polled 3,000 just regular average people off the streets, and they found that over 50% of ages 16 to 34, the rising generation, do not recycle. And the excuses that they gave is first, confusion about what to recycle, what not to recycle. Second, that their collection bins don't get emptied frequently enough, so there's no room in them. Third, that there is no collection bins or no recycling bins. Some thought it was too time consuming. Some doubted the process. You know, when does that recycling, when it goes away in the garbage truck, does it really go to a recycling center? And finally, 4% said that they just couldn't be bothered. Well, as a mother, I know that I can play the guilt card a little bit, but it doesn't work for everything. And I only have 10 minutes with you, so I can't fix all the problems. But I do hope that that wherever you are on the recycling spectrum, that you'll be willing to just take it up a notch. So if you don't recycle at all, maybe you'll take that junk mail and make the effort to put it in the bin. Or get those, remember to carry your own grocery bags, your cloth bags into the store. If you're already really good at that, you can actually write companies and ask to be removed from the mailing list so that there'll be less junk mail in the world. You know, one less letter to you. So I've got some homework for you. I made cookies, and I put them in a recyclable bag. So when you take this home after you've eaten your cookies, recycle this bag, and you'll be doing your part to gain the experience of a lifetime. Thank you.
Wow. Very good. Very